Just a couple of days ago, the Madrid Bravos made one of the most unexpected signings of the 2025 preseason. And I'm talking about Sixten Dragan. The receiver out of the Munich Ravens over the last few seasons is now going to be an E-import with the Madrid Bravos. First and foremost, let's get into what makes him, his measurables. It's the first thing that I always look at when I'm writing a scout report. He is 6 foot tall, 184 centimeters for the Europeans, 195 pounds. Decent frame. He's 25 years old. He spent the last 2 seasons with the Munich Ravens. A connection of mine in Madrid has likened his play style to Roland Johannes, which is extremely high praise, and I'll get to my comparison at the end of the video. Now you may be asking, why is it such a surprise that Madrid have brought in this type of player? It's because he was not regarded as one of the elite German receivers last season. His career high is 400 yards for a season, in fact a little bit less, at 397, and his single game high is only 97 yards against the Milano Seaman last season. So he's never had 100 yards, and he wasn't deemed as one of the elite Germans coming into this year. When turning on the tape, the first thing that really stands out is his short and intermediate route running. Dragan is a very capable route runner, especially on these short and intermediate routes, where his stop-start speed is very evident. He doesn't have the most burst off the line, but when it comes to cutting back to the quarterback on certain routes, he's definitely among the better of the league-wide range of scope. Another part of his route running is a variety in ways that he can set up. I think that he's best as a slot, and we'll get to that later. But he can line up outside and he is able to effectively run routes from all of the positions across the line of scrimmage. To me, he is more of a safety valve route runner. He's not running anything that's very long and drawn out or complex when it comes to allowing the progression throughout the route. He is running short, direct, simple routes that are able to be read by the quarterback quickly and are able to get him into space that he can receive the ball. In every single game I watched that Dragan was in, you're very hard pressed to find anything that he's running which is more than 10 yards deep. This of course isn't a bad thing. We have a lot of volume receivers in this league. Nico Straumann, Kasper Jizlewski and Nandor Toth I would also put in this category of volume receivers, and those 3 players are probably who I would compare to him the most in terms of the similarities within their play style as the shorter, intermediate, space creating volume receivers. I think going into 2025 that is going to be his main role within the Madrid offense. Easy, short reads for reads to net when he needs them, and then creating space on the inside and outside for other receivers, and then to be used as an option to pick apart defenses very slowly. And I think that he's going to have a big role in that, because you see in Munich sometimes he is open, but he isn't the primary read. Now of course, if you're being compared to Roland Johannes, you've got to have really fucking good blocking. Now Dragan is definitely above average when it comes to his blocking. He shows a high motor, he's able to block inside players and outside players as well on defense, and I think that he's also a very good special team player when it comes to this blocking, and also as a gunner. I think this is something that we don't see a lot of E players really participate in. You can really tell the Dragan gets down with it, and I think that's a very valued part, and I put it in the blocking because he does do both, but his blocking motor really translates to special teams. And I think going into Madrid, when they have Nico Barrow, he is going to be important to that, because Flores Calderon, their other E receiver, is not a great blocker. They have a good Spanish offensive line, but Dragan, when he comes into the slot, I think can really make an impact. And I think that is why he's being shades of Roland Johannes treatment when it comes to this part of his play. He's not as an elite, he's not as aggressive, he's not as demanding, and he's not got as good hand placement, but he's certainly above average, and I think that he does do a very good job of this. Now the next 2 parts are not criticisms, they're definitely positives, but there can be problems with them. And that is definitely, one of them is his toughness. The play that really signifies this, the one that a lot of people would remember, was his play against the Paris Musketeers in the semi-final of the 2024 season.
Jeffries in the shotgun. Jeffries with time. Connects across the middle to Sixten Dragan, a massive gain, and he breaks a tackle, still on his feet. Sixten Dragan all the way down. Staying on his feet, take another look at this.
Julius Grevens called their second timeout of the half. 30 seconds.
And Wadi Saeed
Clock
trying
operator,
to rip
please
the
adjust
ball
the game
out.
clock to 44 seconds. 4-4.
And ends up just
Now, it's a wonderful play. No one's going to deny it. But it does show, and it is very, very obvious when you start getting into his tape, how much fucking contact he takes during the catch point, and how sometimes he'll struggle with that contact when he's on the line of scrimmage. It's not just catching the ball and taking hits, it's how he deals with on the line press or disruptions to his routes. And over the course of a game, he takes a beating quite a lot. He'll take big hits, and sometimes he'll come out with the ball, sometimes he won't. Like, some of these hits are just kind of too big to really bring the ball in sometimes. But it's got to be factored in when it comes to his durability. Is he going to be able to withstand that now that he's expected to be in a bigger role? Are people going to be putting on more heavy press corners to play against him? He's going to have to deal with that if he's going to come play in the slot. There's a lot of very capable nickelback players in this league. If he's on an American, I really think he's going to struggle. So he needs to figure out how to do that. He needs to be more physical. He is 195 pounds. He has a decent size. He just needs to use it more effectively. I think that he needs to advance his hand technique and some of his footwork, because his release bag is very limited. There's usually a switch release, which, as far as I'm aware, is a bit of a sign that it's going to be a run. It's not guaranteed, but if he does a switch release, quite often it's a run. And if I figure that out, then maybe other defenses have as well. But he hasn't really got anything that creates a ton of space off the line in his arsenal so far. The last thing I need to see from him, if he's going to become more of a featured receiver, is how his ball tracking develops with Madrid. Now, we are working with a very, very, very small sample size, because he does not get the ball thrown to him very deep. But he needs to be able to do that, otherwise defenses are going to figure him out quite quickly. And ball tracking is part of that. In particular, tracking the ball over his shoulder, because at some points he's dropping easy fucking givens. At some points he's kind of reeling it in quite well. Sometimes he'll not accelerate enough in the space that he has in order to get the ball at the catch point. And this is just something that I think we need to see more of, because the tape is limited on his opportunities with this. As I've said before on other videos, it's kind of a topic of, can he do it but hasn't been an opportunity to show it, or can he not do it and he's kind of be masked within the scheme? And that is what I think of Sixten Dragan, the newest signing for the Madrid Bravos, the German 25-year-old. I think slot volume receiver. And I talked about his comparison between Haaland. I think that he is Nico Straman. I think that he is built very similar. Nico Straman's a little bit thicker built, and he's a little bit longer, but I think their skill sets are very comparable. And I think going forward, he can have a Nico Straman-esque effect on the Madrid Bravos. I think it's going to be exciting. And then I do think he's going to be using the slot a lot. Andrew is a former receiver coach in the NFL. He is the best offensive coordinator over the last couple of seasons in the ELF, and he's going to be the head coach of the team. So he's going to be able to develop him as a receiver in terms of his skill sets, his feet and his hands. You've got Flores Calderon, who is historically always lined up on the left sideline, and they got an American receiver that's going to be a little bit everywhere. So I think that he is going to be in that slot, affecting more of the run game with his blocking for Nico Barrow, helping out with spacing for Flores Calderon and for the American receiver within that offense, and other Spanish great talents like Edu Perez, Mario Flores, if they do sign with the team. I think it's going to be interesting. I really do. I think it's going to be a good signing. Surprising as it may be, I think that he fits the scheme well, and I think if anyone's going to flourish within it, is a player like him. So I'm excited to see how he does this season. That all being said, thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the new lighting system. I got my laptop down here, I got a ring light, I got another light, I got a camera over here, which the ELF and obviously thankfully Euronics. This isn't sponsored, but the show on ELF Live is. So thank you. If you haven't watched the show, Sign-In Center, hosted by me. Who would have thought that a year ago that I would be hosting a Sign-In Center on the ELF Game Pass? Like, that's so fucking cool. And I could not have done it without you guys. I know a lot of you who are going to be watching this have messaged me directly and congratulated me for, starting the Sign-In Center. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who have allowed me to do this. Like, without you guys, the ELF wouldn't know who I was. Without you guys, I wouldn't have been over at ELF Live. I wouldn't have the Science Center made for me to talk about players I wanted to talk about. So, last part before I close this one out, it was just really cool, very emotionally touching to see how everyone supported me through all of this, even through my inconsistent upload schedule. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.